Students from Cesar Chavez Learning Academy in San Fernando marched along the side of the street while cars honked in support of their walkout. Many carried signs saying no one is illegal, while others chanted "Si se puede" or "Yes, we can." This is similar to protests by students we've seen throughout the week in places like downtown LA, Santa Ana, and many parts of the Inland Empire.
Just a couple of weeks ago, we told you how the LA Unified School District, the nation's second largest, began handing out red cards, also known as Know Your Rights cards, to students with information about people's rights if they were ever approached by an immigration officer. Here now is LAUSD School Board member Nick Melvoin. Talk about that and other issues. Nick, good to see you. Has there been any evidence of any members of ICE approaching LAUSD students and asking them about their immigration status?
Luckily, there hasn't been so far. In the prior Trump administration, we did have a parent dropping off his daughter at a charter school who was picked up. But, you know, there's a lot of fear out there in the community. This is a district that's over 70% Latino, a lot of immigrant families. And we just wanted to make sure that students understood their rights, so did their families, so did educators. And I want to be clear, Alex, this isn't a commentary on the immigration policies. I think there's a bipartisan consensus that we need reform, something I worked on actually when I was working at the White House in the Obama administration. This is about protecting students so that they can focus on their education. The Supreme Court has upheld the constitutional right for all students, regardless of immigration status, to attend public school. So we want to make sure that with all that's on students' minds, from the fires to a cell phone ban to what's going on in their home lives, that they're not also focused and scared about this, because we know it affects their academics and, of course, their mental health. So we are gratified that there has been no enforcement action on schools so far. We hope that continues, but we just want students to understand their rights, and also school personnel, because, again, there's a lot of fear and anxiety out there right now.
Have you seen a drop-off in attendance because of that fear? Have you seen, or what are you hearing from parents?
Yeah, so on Monday, and this was the day without an immigrant, and so there were protests, as you were just displaying, throughout the city, and we had attendance that was at around 62%, so well over 20 points lower than typical. We are hearing from partners and agencies and schools that this week it has been lower than normal, and so that's also one of the reasons we're trying to ensure and let families know that schools are some of the safest places in the community, because we want kids to show up, and that is my message to families too. Schools are safe places. We don't collect information, we don't collect citizenship information. We also are, though, encouraging families and parents to update your emergency contact card if you're nervous that you might be the subjects of some enforcement action. We want to make sure that your kids are okay, and so we're asking families to update contact information and emergency contact cards in the event that something happens. But we are seeing lower attendance, and that's one of the reasons we're letting the community know that schools are safe places. And we're also trying to be transparent with the Trump administration too, that, like I said, this isn't necessarily a political decision. Yeah. We're not trying to litigate this. We're just trying to make sure that schools are safe places for kids so that they can learn and be with their peers and their teachers.
The last time you were on with us, it was right before schools were about to move from where they were in the Palisades, the schools that were temporarily closed, and moving the students to other nearby schools. How is that going, and sort of what's the long-term plan for the schools in the Palisades?
Yeah, so I was really excited to announce, I think, when we spoke, that within a week, 7 days to be exact, we were able to relocate the 2 elementary schools, 700 students with their teachers and their principal. And so Pali Elementary, which you're showing images of now, and Marquez Elementary are both relocated for the near term. And I would say that's going really well. It's not without its challenges, and we're very grateful to host schools, but those kids are back with their teachers and their peers and their principal. The Pali Elementary School kids were visited by Freddie Freeman and the Dodgers last week, so I'd say they're having a great start to their new school. We are still looking for temporary space for Pali High, a charter school, but we've been working closely with them and should have an announcement soon. And then we also announced yesterday close to $1 billion in investments that we're prepared to make to rebuild these schools as soon as it's safe to do so. And so, you know, our ambitious and maybe a little aggressive timeline is even the fall of this year, of 2025. But again, that's contingent on EPA cleanup and air quality. But what my commitment to my constituents has been, we're not going to let LA Unified stand in the way of getting these schools rebuilt. So as soon as we get the all clear, we've also asked the government the federal government to prioritize school debris removal, and they're working on that. So it's feasible that we would have even some bungalows back up there in August. Pali High, which mostly is still intact, could be open in August. And we also know, though, that some families will still be displaced, of course, and that some families are concerned about air quality. So we're looking at a few different options, and we're just working with the community. But those elementary school kids are back in class with their peers. The Pali High School kids are online and should be in a temporary location very soon.
Yeah, and it's good to see how people in the community are stepping up. We saw yesterday the Chargers donating a lot of football equipment that had been burned, and other groups that are stepping forward to help those kids as well. Nick Melvoin from the LA Unified School District Board, thanks so much for checking in.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Alex.
Marla.